This is your biology class. I'm your teacher Seema Atreja. Student, in this lecture we are going to discuss the autotrophic nutrition. What do you mean by autotrophic nutrition? In which organism prepare their own food material by the process of photosynthesis, and the organisms are known as autotrophs, and the process of their food synthesis is known as the autotrophic nutrition. In the process of photosynthesis, organisms take in substances like CO2 and water from outside in presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. And convert solar energy into chemical energy, which is stored in them. So, in the process of photosynthesis, organisms take in substances like CO2 and water from outside and form their stored food material in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. So, what is the equation of photosynthesis? Carbon dioxide and water are taken from the outside in presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. And what is produced in this process? Carbohydrate like glucose is produced in this reaction, and along with this, byproduct oxygen is produced. Few molecules of water are also produced in this photosynthesis process. This glucose is utilized by the green plants for obtaining energy, but some of the glucose is not utilized immediately, that is stored in plant in the form of starch. So stored food material in plant is starch. So starch is the stored food material in case of green plants. Similarly, in our body, stored food material, stored food in humans is known as the glycogen. Glycogen is also known as the animal starch. So, what happens in photosynthesis process, which takes place in green plants, in cyanobacteria like blue-green algae, by the process of photosynthesis, they prepare their own food material. For the photosynthesis, carbon dioxide and water is taken from the outside. In the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, glucose or carbohydrate is prepared, which is a food material. Along with this food material glucose, oxygen is also released, which goes into the environment and utilized by the various living organisms in their respiration process. And some water molecules are also produced in this process. Now we will discuss the site of photosynthesis. Where is this process takes place in case of green plants? What is the site of photosynthesis? This process is carried out in the chloroplast, which is present in the green part of the plant. Chloroplast is the cell organelle which is found in the green part of the plant. What is the structure of chloroplast? 9th क्लास में आप सबने क्लोरोप्लास्ट का स्ट्रक्चर पढ़ा है. यहाँ पर एक सम अप कर लेते हैं. दिस इज द डबल मेम्ब्रेनस सेल ऑर्गेनेली. This is the outer membrane. This is the inner membrane. The space present between the two membranes is known as the intermembranous space. Inside these membrane there is present liquid material which is known as the stroma. Lots of enzymes are present into the stroma region which help in the process of photosynthesis. Inside the stroma there are present disc-like structure which are known as the thylakoids. These thylakoids are piled up on one above and forms a group of thylakoids which is known as the grana. Inside the grana also photosynthesis takes place. So lots of grana are present into the stroma region. These grana are interconnected with the help of the stroma lamellae. So this is the structure of chloroplast, which is the site of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is completed in two steps: light reaction and dark reaction. Light reaction takes place in grana and dark reaction takes place in stroma region. In stroma region, lots of enzymes are present which help in completion of this dark reaction. So photosynthesis is completed in two steps: light reaction and dark reaction. This is the equation of photosynthesis, in which CO2 and water combines together in presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. Glucose or carbohydrate is produced in this process as a food material which is utilized by the plants for their need, and the food which is not immediately utilized is stored in plant in the form of starch. Along with this, oxygen and water molecules are also produced in this process. Now we will discuss light reaction and dark reaction in detail. Light reactions are also known as Hill's reaction. What happens in light reaction? Photolysis of water takes place and oxygen is released. This is the step of light reaction. What happens in light reaction? Photolysis of water takes place. Photo means light, lysis means breakdown. In presence of sunlight, water is breakdown and oxygen is released. So in the process of photosynthesis, oxygen is released from water. Very, very important question from point of your examination. What other steps of light reaction are? Chlorophyll absorbs light energy. Which light energy? That is sunlight is absorbed by the chlorophyll. After absorbing sunlight, chlorophyll becomes excited and energy is released. And this energy is stored in the form of ATP. So absorption of light energy to chlorophyll. Next step is what? That is conversion of light energy into chemical energy. And what is this? Chemical energy is, that is ATP. What is the full form of ATP? Adenosine triphosphate, which act as a energy currency of the cell. This ATP is formed in the light reaction for the later use in dark reaction. So in light reaction, what happens? Chlorophyll absorbs light energy and this solar energy is converted into chemical energy, which is stored in the form of ATP for further use in the dark reaction. Next step of light reaction is photolysis of water takes place. And oxygen is released in this process. How it is takes place? How is the photolysis of water takes place? Water in presence of sunlight breakdown. Hydrogen ions are produced in this reaction, as well as oxygen molecule is released in this process. This is the light reaction. These hydrogen ions are combined with NADP along with electrons. And what is produced? That is NADPH is produced in this reaction. ATP is the adenosine triphosphate. And what is the full form of NADP? Nicotinamide dinucleotide. फॉस्फेट. इसकी फुल फॉर्म याद करने की कोई रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है. In NADP, hydrogen is added and is converted into NADPH. So this is the reduced form of NADP, which is produced into the light reaction. What are the products produced in light reaction? ATP is produced, oxygen is produced, and NADPH are produced. These are the product of light reaction. Oxygen is released into the environment and ATP and NADPH, which are produced in light reaction, they are known as the assimilatory power. They are produced in light reaction, but they are utilized in dark reaction in the process of photosynthesis. This is the light reaction. What happens in case of light reaction? Chlorophyll absorbs light energy, becomes excited, and conversion of this light energy into chemical energy takes place. This energy is stored into the form of ATP for further use into the dark reaction. Another step of light reaction is photolysis of water takes place, and oxygen is released in this process. How it takes place? This water in presence of sunlight break down into hydrogen ion and oxygen is released. This hydrogen ion is taken up by the NADP and reduced form of NADPH is produced in this process. ATP and NADPH are the assimilatory power produced in light reaction, but they are utilized in the dark reaction. So dark reaction is not independent of light. The product produced in the light reaction are utilized in the dark reaction. How is the dark reaction taking place? We also called it as Kelvin cycle. This is the equation of photosynthesis. What happens in the dark reaction? That CO2 is reduced into carbohydrate or glucose by utilization of the assimilatory power, that is ATP and NADPH produced into the light reaction. CO2 is reduced into glucose by utilization of ATP and NADPH2 produced into the light reaction. So what happens in the dark reaction? That is CO2 is reduced to carbohydrates, ATP and NADPH, which are the product of light reaction, are utilized in this process. So what is going on here? This is the leaf. These are stomata. This is the green leaf in which chloroplast is present into the mesophyll cells of the leaf. Carbon dioxide enter inside the leaf. Water is present inside the leaf. With the help of this CO2 and water, glucose is produced. And in this process, oxygen is also released out. So CO2 is reduced to glucose in the dark reaction, and in the light reaction photolysis of water takes place, oxygen is released, and this solar energy is converted into chemical energy. The process of photosynthesis are not taking place one after the other. That is, the light reaction and dark reaction are not taking place one after the other immediately. ऐसा नहीं है कि लाइट रिएक्शन कंप्लीट हुई तो उसके बाद डार्क रिएक्शन स्टार्ट हो गई. अगर हम डेजर्ट प्लांट्स के केस में देखें, इन केस ऑफ डेजर्ट प्लांट्स, स्टोमेटा आर ओपन एट नाइट. What happens in case of desert plant? Stomata open at night. So CO2 enter in desert plant at night. So in light, products produced remain inside the plant, and during the night, after some break, these products are utilized and the CO2 is reduced to carbohydrate. So these steps are not immediately completed one after the other. This is all about photosynthesis. I think the concept of photosynthesis is very much clear to you all. This is all about in this video.